The legal battle between Take-Two Interactive and those behind RE3 as well as REVC continues, and this is in light of what has been happening with the disastrous launch of GTA Trilogy Definitive Edition. And a lot of people, including myself, are of the opinion that the reason why Take-Two went after RE3 and REVC was because they were making the original trilogy on PC look better than what Grove Street Games was working on. Whatever the case may be, it's extremely bad PR for Take-Two. And we're going to go over this article from torrentfreak.com, article linked below in the description section. GTA modders to court, our game fixes and enhancements are fair use, not piracy. In response to a lawsuit filed by Take-Two Interactive, four men behind the popular RE3 and REVC Grand Theft Auto fan projects claim their work is protected under fair use. Among other things, they fixed bugs, something the plaintiffs stopped doing years ago. They also improved the game, which, if anything, enhances the market for original games, which are required for mods to run. Earlier this year, the group of programmers of Grand Theft Auto enthusiasts released RE3 and REVC, a pair of reverse-engineered modifications for GTA 3 and Vice City on PC. The projects allowed fans to enjoy these dated games with significant enhancements and were a hit with fans. However, Take-Two and Rockstar Games took exception and responded with a DMCA takedown filed at these links here if you guys want to check them out in this article, using the DMCA counter notice system and RE3 and REVC. Earlier September, Take-Two filed lawsuits against them, arguing that the aim of the project was to create and distribute pirated versions of GTA 3 and Vice City. The company demanded damages under copyright law, claiming that the team willfully and maliciously copied and adapted and distributed its source code and other content without permission. Take-Two also demanded damages for alleged misrepresentations in the defendant's DMCA counter notices. The team behind RE3 and REVC fight back through their attorneys. They have now responded to the complaint. They have addressed each of the plaintiff's allegations, largely denying them, but in some cases stating insufficient knowledge to form a response. Broadly, however, they insist they did not commit any type of copyright infringement, something they expand upon in a short list of affirmative defenses, i.e. defense based on facts other than those of the supported to the plaintiff's claims. Affirmative defense, fair use. Right off the bat, the defendants assert that anything they did in connection with their GTA 3 Vice City projects were actions protected by fair use under the Copyright Act. If any copying or copyright-protected material did occur, that was undertaken to allow for the software of fixing bugs that present in the original titles. As a result, any alleged reverse engineering of the original code represents a transformative use of the content, i.e. it added something new with further purposes of different character and did not substitute for the original use of the work. To the extent that copying of copyrighted material did occur, if any, it was necessary to allow for the software to be kept from the minimum required amount. The answer further points out that the original games were released over 15 years ago, and the plaintiffs sought release in patches and bug fixes several years ago before any of the alleged actions of the defendants took place. I'd also like to bear in mind that the original trilogy was taken off all the online stores, including Steam on PC. Another important fact highlighted in the answer to the complaint is that the defendants' modifications are useless in their own right. In fact, anyone who wished to make use of RE3 and REVC could not do so without already possessing copies of GTA 3 and Vice City, games that Take-Two stopped making available for purchase in its online stores. This leads to the question of whether the alleged conduct of the defendants affected in the markets of those games, and if so, in what way. According to the answer, the mods did not affect the market, but to the extent they did, any shift would have been positive since people needed to purchase the games to use the mods. Quote-unquote, any complaint of copying of copyright-protected material that did occur, if any, was not undertaken for profit or commercial purposes. The doctrine of fair use bars the relief sought by the plaintiff, the response adds. In fact, the plaintiff actually encouraged game mods. Despite now aggressively suing the creators of RE3 and REVC, Take-Two has previously allowed third parties to develop mods of its software, including GTA 3 and Vice City, without any adverse actions in response. That's according to answers which states that Take-Two, or subsidiaries or predecessors' interests, have showcased mods and even released portions of its software to the MTA Mod Project. These supported, encouraged, and allowed mod projects upon information and belief require that the reverse engineer of software, just as the defendants are alleged to have undertaken. Upon information and belief, defendants had an implied license to undertake any complaint of actions or plaintiff abandoned copyright. The answer reads, extraterritorial application of U.S. law. Take-Two's complaint alleges that Angelo is a resident of Germany, and response admits that. However, the claim that Theo is an individual located in New Zealand is denied. Similarly, denied is Ray is located in Turkey, Adrian is located in Germany. While these factors aren't expressly cited in the defendant's third affirmative defense, the extraterritorial application of U.S. law, the complaint alleges that the copying of copyright material was undertaken outside the United States. As such, U.S. copyright law lacks reach, the defendants say. Quote unquote, the United States Copyright Act could not be applied outside the United States and its territories. To the extent the plaintiff seeks to extend the application of the United States Copyright Act to cover activities outside the United States, its claims should be barred. The answer concludes, quote unquote, bug fixes and enhancements come at a bad time for Take-Two. Well, a very bad time. For months, there's been speculation that the real reason behind Take-Two's legal action against RE3 and REVC developers is that they were planning to officially release enhanced versions of their old games. The latter component was confirmed by the release of GTA The Trilogy, which includes remastered versions of GTA 3, Vice City, and San Andreas. Unfortunately, that has been nothing short of a disaster, as reported by Eurogamer and many other content creators and YouTubers, that the definitive edition was unplayable due to software problems and is now only available again for purchase after 3 days of downtime on the Rockstar Games launcher. Refund requests have been coming in thick and fast, and the title has been review bombed down to an aggregated score of 0.5 on Metacritic. Once again, this article, well done by Andy Maxwell over at TorrentFreak.com, listed below in the description section. And this is clearly a case of fair use. The four men behind RE3 and REVC are fans of the Grand Theft Auto franchise, and they're right. Up until this point, Take-Two and Rockstar wasn't making any money off of the original versions of GTA 3, Vice City, or San Andreas. And if anything, these reverse engineered mods have probably helped booster sales to GTA 3 and GTA Vice City, probably on the Rockstar Games launcher as well as Steam and elsewhere on PC. And there's a huge difference between fair use and piracy. And in my opinion, even though I'm not a legal expert, this does not fall under piracy because, as the defendants pointed out, you have to first own GTA 3 and Vice City on PC before you can even use these mods, RE3 and RE Vice City. Furthermore, the real motivations behind these attacks and lawsuits against modders of GTA 3 as well as Vice City and San Andreas on PC have become very apparent. It's all about money. No, not for the original trilogy, which is unfortunately no longer on the online shelves, but for the GTA Trilogy Definitive Edition. I believe that Take-Two and Rockstar knew how bad these so-called remasters were going to be, which is why we got very little gameplay, before it officially launched, that they did not want any competition at all. And that's why they saw the original trilogy, GTA 3, Vice City, and San Andreas on PC that could be improved with mods by RE3, REVC, and others as a viable threat to them financially, which is why I think Take-Two ended up going after all these modders, which is sadly nothing new. They love going after modders. Well, even on GTA 5, I think they go after modders in the story mode whenever they try to port over a updated version of Vice City or Liberty City from GTA 4. And speaking of GTA 4, apparently they're also now, they being Take-Two, are now going after modders on GTA 4, leading a lot of us to speculate that one of the next games to be quote-unquote remastered is GTA 4. In my opinion, it better not be Grove Street Games because they did a horrible job with these three games. Now, like I mentioned in my Who's to Blame video, I don't think that Grove Street Games deserves all the blame. I believe a lot of the blame goes to Take-Two as well as Rockstar Games. These three games are the crown jewels of Rockstar Games. Without 3, Vice City, San Andreas, Rockstar Games would not be the successful development studio that it is today. And they deserve better. They deserve to be remade, rebuilt from the ground up with care and love within Rockstar Studios itself. But unfortunately, that did not occur. There's plenty other development studios out there and publishers that have no issue with their single-player games on PC being modded, like, for example, Bethesda, which is now under Microsoft, and there's plenty of others, too. That's where I think Take-Two needs to take lessons from and see how there's loyal fans behind various other game franchises out there that are constantly keeping those various games alive on PC because of mods and enhancements, as well as fan-created content. And that is a direction that Rockstar and Take-Two have misstepped on for quite a while now. They at first wanted to go after people on GTA 5M, I believe, or OpenIV a while back, and enough fallback and backlash occurred on the social medias that Take-Two and Rockstar had a reverse decision on that choice. And it's unfortunately they've doubled back and have been going after modders for quite a while now, especially most recently with RE3 and REVC, and also with those that have been making mods, I guess, for GTA 4. It's bad PR, Take-Two and Rockstar, especially with the disaster of the launch of the GTA Definitive Edition trilogy. That hurts not only Take-Two. And yeah, I'm sure that Strauss-Zelnick and everybody at the top of their ivory tower making 6, 7, 8 figures a year, and the stockholders and all the money that they're making, they don't probably care about how you and I feel about it. But the big picture is this is going to do long-term damage to the Take-Two name, as well as Rockstar Games and the GTA franchise. If Take-Two even cared about a good public image and PR, they would have left RE3, REVC, and all the other modders they've gone after alone, especially those that focus on the single-player games, like 3, Vice City, San Andreas, GTA 4 story mode, as well as GTA 5 story mode, and of course Red Dead Redemption story mode. As long as they stay away from the online components of these games, then that should be totally fine. It's fair use. And the majority of these modders are actually fans, Take-Two and Rockstar, of GTA. That's why they've been working so hard on their own time to make all these mods and enhancements for GTA 3 and Vice City on PC. It's because they love these games. But we know what Take-Two loves: money. That's all they give a damn about. They don't care about quality, even though they claim to. And if you claim you care about quality in interview after interview after interview, and yet you come out with something that is not exactly well received, like the GTA Trilogy Definitive Edition, then action speaks louder than words. And what's sad is I hear that on PC, the problems that we're facing with the GTA Trilogy Definitive Edition are actually being resolved by modders. And that is concerning to me personally, because you have, once again, people that want the GTA Trilogy Definitive Editions to be improved and fixed, myself included, but you have modders working on these games on PC, and it's only a matter of time before, as a big thank you, I'm sure that Take-Two and Rockstar is going to send DMCA strikes after them as well for fixing their games on PC. Here's hoping that the courts end up siding with all the modders, including the modders behind RE3 and RE Vice City, as well as any of the modders that Take-Two has targeted with DMCA strikes and takedowns and lawsuits and threats. I hope that there's compensation, because Take-Two needs to pay those legal bills. And if the courts do side with the modders, then they will make the case going forward in the law that what the GTA modders have been doing is, in fact, fair use and protected by fair use and not piracy, leaving Take-Two without a legal leg to stand on. I sincerely hope that that's how this case turns out, but we'll just have to wait and see. Your thoughts, your views, your opinions regarding the makers behind RE3, REVC, as well as all the other modders that are in Take-Two's crosshairs. Do you think that they're practicing fair use, piracy? Who exactly is in the wrong, the modders or Take-Two? And how do you feel about the GTA Trilogy Definitive Edition 1 week later? Your thoughts, your views, your opinions, as always, welcome below in the comments section.